Yeah, I love to talk, film, discuss, critique.
Yo, what up? What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. Blood Splatter Chatter here on a Sunday. Even though the intro says Wednesday, that's our regular time, Wednesday, 12:30 Central Time. Here with some special guests to talk Don't Look Now from 1973, directed, let me get his name right, by Nicolas Roeg, starring Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie. And this was gifted to me by 62 Lefty Blue. Appreciate you out there. So this one was requested by you, and this one is for you, my brother, and happy to be here with me, who I sent a copy to because Six Deuce, you sent me a copy and I already had one. So I sent it over to my man, Robbie. Sorry, Wes, I didn't send you one. But what up? Welcome to the show, Rockin' Robbie.
Oh, dude, super excited to be here. Since you changed your time for Blood Splatter Chatter, it's like less opportunity for me to be on. So I'm always eager to jump in on a Sunday when I have a chance. And this was one I never seen, never even heard of, which is crazy considering of how influential of a film it is, as I've since learned. But yeah, very excited to talk about my experience with this one.
Wes, as I told, I was picking up backstage. I'm sensing some negativity from Rockin' Robbie. That's fine. That's fine. We'll dive into it. But Wes, first time watch for you. Appreciate you being here. It's been a while since I've been able to have you on the show for anything outside of a Friday the 13th discussion, which we enjoyed doing. But what up, man? I'm glad you were able to check it out and able to join us.
Yeah, I'm really glad I checked this out too. This movie's been on my list for years. I had a friend who was like obsessed with it, and he kept like years back, he was telling me to watch it over and over again. And I was like, yeah, I'll get to that eventually. But no, this was just a great excuse to watch it. I was kind of blown away by it, honestly. I thought it was great.
That's awesome. It is part of the reason why I came across it originally. I'm trying to pull up, not that it matters. I don't know how much creed people put into Rotten Tomatoes scores, but it's one. Like when I first started doing Dylan's Horror Show with you, Robbie, and kind of digging deeper into horror, into my fandom as I'm scrolling here at Rotten Tomatoes list. Basically, I originally came across it because it's one of the highest rated quote unquote horror movies on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like a 98%. So it's up there. And I was just kind of at that point just going through like, oh, let's check this off the list. Crazy high rated Rotten Tomatoes movie I'd never heard of. Check it out. And then watching it the first time, it's not that much, and we'll get into it, like where it falls in genre wise. Well, let's just start there. Like, what would you guys classify this? Would you feel comfortable even like calling this a horror movie? Either of you? Like, it's what do you think?
I think so. Yeah, I'm more loose with my definition of horror. Like, I consider Gone Girl a horror film, which I know a lot of people wouldn't, but it's like it's marriage horror, and this is like childhood drama / I don't know, horror. Like it's just like it definitely has that like creepy feeling. Like I was unnerved the entire way through, and for me that is the heart of horror, is just that like unnerved feeling. Like anything that can get you to feel uncomfortable and unnerved, like for the majority of the film,
right?
Like I think it was really brilliant, and the aesthetics were very like the dark and creepy churches and alleyways of Venice. I think it just had all the aesthetics and like the creepy feeling that make it horror, even if it didn't have the violence and the gore and the kind of fast-paced action that many people love about horror.
Right. I feel like I've heard in looking into this, just I don't know, I can't verify this, but supposedly Ari Aster listed as an influence on Hereditary, and I totally see that.
Yeah,
just people dealing with grief and just a lot of the vibes of it give me that. But it felt like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, it feels like a ghost story.
Yeah,
it kind of is. It's got some of the ghost tropes. It's got a lot of the mystery elements that you'll have in giallo or some slashers or ghost stories as well. And then it's got this folk horror element that I really like, where these people, an American and a British woman, they're in Italy, they don't speak the language. And the other big folk horror element is a lot of people seem to know something that they don't. Like even like the people at the hotel seem to be in on something that they're not. The police officers, and they keep seeing people like close their windows as they come by, just making you suspicious of everybody. But what do you think, Robbie? You think it's horror enough for you to be called horror?
I think it's more horror than something like The Dead Zone, you know, which gets kind of considered a horror film, right? It deals with paranormal, supernatural type stuff, you know, with like premonitions, whether it's the women or whether it's Donald Sutherland's character, right? Because kind of, I guess the whole point of the movie is that he is sensitive in some kind of a way, but he's kind of like denying it, right?
Right.
Which I didn't notice any of that when I first watched the film. Like, luckily, there's a lot of great content on YouTube already about this film that helped really open me up to what it is. But when I was watching it, I was like, is this a ghost story? Is this a murder mystery? Like, I don't quite know. But yeah, I agree with what Wes said, man. This is, it's a tragedy. It's a very tragic movie. It's a very sad movie. And it is a grief. And, you know, in hindsight, I can totally see the Hereditary, the influence it had on that film. Right. But yeah, I would say it's a horror film because like Wes, I have a very wide umbrella for horror movies just because I love them. You know me, I'm the guy that's like Silence of the Lambs is a horror movie. Like, I don't know why I hate the term psychological thriller. You know, I hate that. I'm like, those are horror movies. It's fine. Just embrace it. Right. So yeah, this is a horror movie, albeit a different one than what most people would consider horror.
Right. It is. I think the first time I watched it, I enjoy the mystery. I love the characters. The cinematography might be my favorite aspect of it. And Nicolas Roeg, this was, I think, I might be mistaken. It might be his second film as a director, but he was a cinematographer leading up to this. That's what he did for quite a while. And you could feel it in the movie. Like, it's such a gorgeous film. Yeah. But I think my issue with it the first time, which doesn't bother me as much, is like the pacing there's a chunk towards the end of the movie, or maybe just the movie in general could be cut 5-10 minutes. There's a chunk towards the end where Donald Sutherland's kind of doing his thing by himself that I feel like drags on a little bit and gets a little slow. But for the most part, although it's super like a slow burn, like I love it. I love the movie. I love the atmosphere. I love the feel of it. But Robbie, where are you at on it? Just overall, first time watch, Don't Look Now. How'd you feel about it?
Well, I mean, so I'm looking at this guy's work, and the only other film I've seen from him is The Man Who Fell to Earth, which I do like, the David Bowie films based on the novel or whatever.
You never seen The Witches? That's the one that stuck out to me.
Is that the one with Angelica?
The Witches.
Okay, yes. I've seen that one. Yeah, I've seen
good.
That one. That's a fun movie. So it was been a really busy month, right? And Friday, I'm tired as hell, and I'm like, let me put this movie on because this might be the only time I can really get to watch it. And I put it on, and bruh, I was fighting sleep, dude. I was like, this movie was dragging for me. Like, it was rather like I found my initial experience pretty boring because I couldn't figure out what this movie was. I was like, okay, so it's like a ghost story, right? I was like, okay, no, it's not. And then at the end of the movie, honestly, I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, when that came out of nowhere, what does that have to do with anything? I don't understand, right? And so I was like, whatever. And I went to sleep and I woke up, and like, as I'm watching the movie, obviously I can look at the cinematography, I can look at the editing, I can look at the way the camera's moving. Like, I was appreciating all of that. But man, like, I was just not in the right head frame. Plus, I didn't really know what this movie was.
Fair enough.
Now that I know what this movie is, I'm really excited to dive back into it because I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting, because I was just watching it. It's like, all right, weird long sex scene with a bunch of cuts in it. All right. All right,
very,
let's go.
very controversial at the time.
Yeah. And it's just like, I'm following the movie, but then I guess when she goes to London to check on their kid, and then I guess because I was sleepy, I guess I was going through what Donald Sutherland was going through in this movie, man. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And then the ending happened. And like, at any moment, I'm waiting for these two old women to like reveal themselves as witches and they're crazy or something like that. I'm ready for like there to be like the killer element to come more prevalent into the script, or more of a supernatural, like, I don't know, but I like how it was playing with that. I do feel like the movie led me in the way that it wanted to. I just, unfortunately, at the moment, like, I was just beat. I was tired. I didn't realize could you imagine if you think you're going to watch something like Fright Night and it's Hereditary. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
but no,
tonal
I
whiplash.
see the brilliance of the film. My initial experience was a little bit boring and dull, just because we talk about slow burns and all that kind of stuff. I don't mind that. I love that stuff. But this movie, I just kept waiting for it to like kick in. Like what? Like I was expecting more of a typical, all right, so this is what it is. Here we go. We're progressing into act 2, into act 3, but it didn't do that. It was just way different than what I was anticipating. But I have since listened to a lot of people talk about this movie and discuss this film, including Ari Aster when he did mention it.
Okay.
And I see now what this movie is, what it's trying to do. And I was just missing that on the first time. I should have pulled a Verno and watched it twice, you know, but I'm looking forward to watching it again. Yeah.
First of all, I totally get everything that you're saying. Like I feel everything that you're feeling. I both times that because I watched it once, like I said, like a couple years ago, and the 2 times that I watched it this week, knowing what it was like a daytime, like afternoon kind of a watch, and I think it fits that like vibe pretty well. Oh, you said something else I wanted to mention and go off of. Oh, I forget what it was. But basically, yes, I feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying as far as pace wise. Johnny Recaps, appreciate you being here. Says after seeing this movie when I was young, let's stop there and analyze that. You watched this movie when you were young and enjoyed it. That's awesome. Says I started comparing everybody else's acting to Donald's going forward. Hell yeah, and that's one of the highlights of it. It's one of my favorite performances from Donald Sutherland, if not my favorite. Yeah, it's so goddamn good. It's so natural. But Wes, my brother, what did you think first time?
Yeah, I clocked the Ari Aster influence like halfway through. I watched this with my partner and I was telling him, I was like, yeah, this feels like Hereditary. This like the tone, like nothing technically Hereditary-esque is happening except maybe the witchiness, like because I thought the women were witches too. Right. I was like, they just hexed them in the diner there. That's what happened. But no, I was so confused. But like just yeah, it was so beautifully shot. I watched it on Canopy, and that's not the best definition. It probably would have looked a lot better on a Blu-ray.
Right, but it does, by the way. It's pretty still great beautiful. Transfer.
Yeah, just a gorgeous film, all the same though. Like, yeah, Donald Sutherland killed it. But I think what struck me the most from it is like the little bits that kind of felt like they were going to become the Omen, and then they didn't, except for like that one part that did when the thing fell down. I was just like, there was so many like. And this came out in the 80s, right? So there was like so many like 73. Oh, it's older than that.
Same year as The Exorcist, right?
Right,
wow.
Right before
that is actually like, incredible. Maybe like
a couple weeks after The Exorcist, and a few years before The Omen.
It's amazing. It looks newer. It looks much newer than The Exorcist. Right. So I mean, like they did a great job filming this. The cinematography is incredible.
Hell yeah! Let's I just want to get into what the mystery part of it, and kind of what it means. Cause I have a theory. First of all, that I'm like, oh, at the end of it, oh, this is what it is. And then looking on the internet and talking to AI a little bit, this is not a prevalent theory. Like nobody else has my theory. So I'll save that for a moment. But I want to know, like, just in general, Rob, you start with you again, just like the way that, like, how does it function as a mystery for you? I love movies like this, by the way, that like end with the reveal. And then you've got like 2 minutes of like falling action, or whatever you call it. And then the movie's over, the credits roll. Which I feel like is kind of an older, like, structure. You don't see that many times in movies these days, where it just ends once you finally know what's going on. But the red herrings with the witches and the townspeople, like I mentioned, what did you think of it, like as a mystery, and then with the reveal, Robbie? What do you think that fucking means?
Well, my initial reaction.
Spoilers, by the way, spoilers.
Oh yeah, spoilers. My initial reaction was, what the fuck kind of movie is this? Is it a ghost story? Is it a witch story? It even had one of the dudes from Suspiria in it, who played the doctor in Suspiria, who told her to drink the wine to build up the blood. He's like one of the dudes in the movie. I think, yeah, he's the cop.
So
okay.
Yeah. And so I was like, is this like, what the fuck is this? What's going on, man? And then I was like, oh no, is his wife dead the whole time and he's a serial killer?
Yeah.
Like it kept twisting and turning, and I was like, what the hell's going on? So it had that effect in hindsight, mostly from just what I've read and what I've listened to over the last couple days. It seems like the idea is that he thinks he's seeing his little daughter, right, as a ghost or whatever. And at first he's denying it. Then he like becomes obsessed with it. And of course it turns out to be a little dwarf killer. Right. And then, so when I first watched that and he got killed, and I was like, tell me this is not the fucking end of this movie. Like, I was like, what the fuck is this? But then I guess the point that I have been reading and I think it works, is that the whole point of the movie basically is it's almost like playing with like determinism and fate and stuff like that, right? Like he has these premonitions of his own death throughout the movie. And I didn't realize that at the time, right? I don't think you do necessarily maybe the first time,
Right.
or maybe you do. But he keeps ignoring it, and his wife is going into this like supernatural way to deal with the loss of their child. And he's trying to do a very practical way, which is just throw yourself into work and alcohol, right? And then there's like friction, but there's one thing I do love about the movie is I felt like a genuine marriage was being portrayed.
Yeah.
Right? Like I felt like there was two people that really love each other, but obviously have issues, because that's what happens when you have somebody that you live with for so long, especially after a tragedy, right? Like that, right?
They remind me of the 70s version of the couple in Poltergeist. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like they're just cool and laid back, but like the 70s version of that.
Yeah, I can dig that. But it almost seems like it's one of those kind of things like the Oedipus story or all those Greek tragedies where there is a foretold ending of doom, and no matter what you do to try to avoid it, you're just following the steps to lead you into it, right? Like he's warned by the two old women and his wife, like something bad's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't believe it. And then when he goes to try to disprove that, it leads to his demise. And I guess the whole point at the end is that it's random. This serial killer has no connection to this family, the story going on there. It is just a random kind of thing. So maybe that's a point too, is that, this really interesting story, but then, I mean, it's a better ending than frogs fucking falling from the sky in Magnolia. That was absolutely a piece of shit. Like he just didn't know what to do at the end of that movie, I think. But I don't know. That's what I think. I think it's about the randomness of it, but you can't outrun your fate.
Well, that
in a way.
And I'll get into my theory. I want to ask you, of course, about this, Wes, but my theory is that it's maybe not so random. But first, Bubbles RR, what up, my brother? Appreciate you being here. Says I really enjoyed it. Definitely gave me the Omen vibes throughout watching, and I was very much, what the fuck is going on? Much like all of us probably. And then by the end, there were things that I missed that made sense. It's definitely one of those. It's just like a lot of like, again, to compare it to Italian Giallo and just like specifically Argento's, where at the end of the movie, you're like, oh, there was that one scene, and they'll replay it maybe. And like, oh, that's the bit that we missed that ties it all together. Or this is what that meant. What up, Six Dudes? Appreciate you being here. We finally got to it. I don't know how long I've had this, like maybe 6 months. Finally got to it. Kenneth Bird, I appreciate you. Let me, before I ask you about the mystery, West, like this is what, the way I read it at the end of this last watch, I was like, oh, this is what it is. It turns out the internet says no, there's nothing to do with that. The picture that he's looking at the beginning, when he sees what we think is his daughter, Christine, in the church. First of all, okay, so we have that picture, which is supposed to be Christine. And then throughout the movie, when he's in Venice, we keep seeing the little girl come running by.
Yeah.
And my first thought is like, they keep saying that Christine was wearing a plastic Mac, this red raincoat. And I'm like, that's not a raincoat.
Yeah.
Right? It's not shiny. It's like, it's a different look. It's a different fucking coat. And when you look at that picture that they show you at the beginning, that's that coat. It's not shiny either.
Yeah.
She has her hood up. Christine never has her hood up. She always has her hood down, the daughter. So my thought is that the killer, it is a supernatural movie. She's like this. She's death. Either she's a fucking killer and she is obsessed with this family and she actually drowned the daughter and killed the daughter. Or that's just like, we're all going to see this lady when we go. That's like what you see when you fucking die is this lady. And like, she was there. She was present where they were at. And that nobody has that theory online, but I'm rolling with it. That's my theory.
I like that.
It out there.
I like that theory.
That's super interesting. Yeah.
What do you think in general, Wes, of just everything about the mystery?
So I did kind of think that maybe there was something planned from like the very beginning. I was like, was the daughter like supposed to die to get them to Venice? Like something seems planned out for them, right? And it definitely felt that way for a lot of the film. And I'm kind of stuck in between, like, was it all planned, or is it something that he kind of like predetermined thing that he walked into, or is it something random, like the just, in his ESP that he's kind of denying, kind of, you know, confused him into heading into that direction where he, ended up being killed. But yeah, I don't know. I get, like, for a long time I thought the wife was in on it too. I was like, the wife is working with the witchy ladies. So she's trying to get back at this man. And I was like, but why do I want to kill this man? And I was like, oh, because he's restoring churches. He's bringing God back to the world or something. And I was like, that makes sense in this 80s, 70s satanic panic kind of way. And I was like, I don't know though. Everything's so confusing. And then when he was seeing his wife after she supposedly went back home to take care of their son on the boat with the two women, and they're all wearing black and stuff. And like, that was him foreseeing his own funeral. When that happened, I was like, I knew it. I knew she was in on it the whole time. And then of course it does another little flip. So like, it was just one of those movies that really keeps you guessing. It like keeps you guessing, and then it like makes you feel confirmed in your guess. And then as soon as you feel really comfortable in that guess, it flips it all again. So like, it was like a roller coaster for sure. But I definitely at times thought that the wife was in on it, or something was happening from the very beginning, that the daughter's death was planned, that they were supposed to be in Venice. There was definitely a lot of that like going on. Like I was definitely confused all the way through it.
Right. And that's one of my favorite elements of even watching it back the second time. You're not like what I take as, like I said, the folk horror element where everybody else is in on something. Everybody else is privy to some information that they're not. Part of that, like on a rewatch, it gets played as, oh, they're suspicious of Donald Sutherland for being the murderer. Like a lot of that is where it comes from. They are the outsiders, and that's why some people are a little suspicious of them. Even the people at the hotel, I don't really know. At least the police, they think that. Eventually, they think that.
Yeah.
I also thought it was funny that Donald Sutherland, I didn't pick up on this, when he's talking to the cops, part of what he's saying is like, oh, maybe my wife is the killer. She's not well. You know what I mean? Did you guys pick up on that? I'm like, oh my God.
That's crazy. I thought the cops were in on the witchcraft. That was like the cops were in on the witchiness. That's so crazy. Now it's all coming together now. Oh my God. That's crazy.
As we said off the top, the director, he began Nicolas. Why do I keep on losing this bro's name? Nicolas Roeg. He started as a cinematographer. To me, that's just so striking right off the bat. Like, especially in, it almost peaks in the opening scene, like the look wise. It's so good. The editing is one of the most influential aspects of the movie. From what I've told, it's hard to judge influence when you're 50 years removed, but from what I read, that was one of the more influential aspects of it. But the way it's edited and the cinematography, Wes, as a man going to school for film, or maybe you finished, I haven't talked to you in a while. By the way, I love your photography. A little bit of photography you just threw out there. I'm like, oh, my man's got some fucking skill as a man that dabbles. I'll start with you this time. Just what do you think of the direction overall, the look, the feel, the style? Yeah. What do you think of the film that way?
It's immaculate. It has like this is so nerdy. This is gonna sound so film school and nerdy. It has like this they utilize like what film nerds call like constructive editing a lot, which is like they kind of like build like what you're supposed to infer through quick shots, like, a shot of the picture and then the blood, he spills the drink and the ink spreads and stuff,
right?
And, they cut from that to the water twirling, and like immediately the audience knows like, oh, he's thinking that his daughter's about to drown. And like, it was just really a lot of like brilliant things of editing like that, where nothing needs to be said. Characters don't need to say anything. Nothing needs to be explained. It's just so intuitively edited that the audience immediately knows what's going on. And I thought that was really incredible. And I could definitely see that being something that influenced future films, because they were just on all levels for Don't Look Now. They were really pulling out all the stops with the editing, I thought. And then just the colors, it was so like, it felt mostly beige tones, but then there was always like this pop of red somewhere on the screen, which was so nice to see. And I just think it was really intentional and really thought out. And it definitely built the tone and like vibe. Like, this is a movie that you could see any shot from, and even if it didn't have Donald Sutherland in it or a little girl in a red coat, you could probably point out that's from Don't Look Now.
Right.
It's just so well done. Like, I thought that was maybe the most impressive aspect of it, was the editing and cinematography for sure.
Same, dude. And I loved that they did it, or that they made it in Venice.
Yes.
Which I wish that, like, I know Robbie, you're a giant Dario Argento fan. He never did anything in Venice, right?
No, not that I can think of. No, a lot of his stuff's like usually in other countries, set in other countries.
Right.
The ones in Italy are usually like in Rome or something like that, right?
I feel like Fulci, or maybe it might be an earlier Argento, was at the Colosseum once in Rome. which is another just like, like iconic. It just would have been cool to see Argento do a giallo in Venice. Venice, by the way, it's like a video game map where you'll like see it just from this movie looking at it. I've never been there, but you're like, okay, there's that. Now, how the fuck do we get there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All right, let's take that route, go over that bridge, take a boat, and I think we could make it there. Let's split up. Robbie, my brother, what do you think? Same question, just the cinematography and the style.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I love what Wes was saying about the composition and the shots and how they kind of mirror each other. And mirrors are a big part of this, glass, all that kind of stuff. The use of Venice is interesting, right? Because it was pointed out in a video that I watched that Venice is a beautiful city, right? And they almost go out of their way not to show the beauty of Venice, but to show it like a dark, foreboding labyrinth, like a
decaying
thing,
too.
like, yeah, right. And they said like the most beautiful scenes are in the churches usually, right, where they're showing the architecture of the church. But aside from that, yeah, and even that's like crumbling, and you see a lot of the grit. You see a lot of like, because when you see a lot of things with Venice in it, and it's like a very glamorized version of it, right? I mean, the architecture is beautiful, it's old, and those canals, right? That's very unique and cool. I was just rewatching a few days ago. My girlfriend had never seen In Bruges, so I showed her that one, and that one kind of has the same kind of feel, but it really focuses on how beautiful the city is. This makes you almost feel like you're underneath the city, right? So I really liked that aspect of it. All the mirrored images and stuff I didn't pick up the first time, right? But luckily people on YouTube, including YouTube right now, are dissecting this film pretty spectacularly. So I think it's beautifully shot. It's of course got the 70s zooms and shit like that, but it doesn't like do them in a really cheesy kind of way like a lot of 70s movies can do.
Right.
It feels very reserved. It feels very meticulous. And the script, this is definitely a movie that shows and doesn't tell. And like Wes was saying, it shows through the editing, which is exceptional, right? They're letting you know connections and patterns just through the cuts and the dissolves and the composition and the mirroring of that, right? So that's pretty cool. And the script is very, very clean. Like there's not a wasted word in this movie. So I think altogether it just really soars style and structure wise for sure.
Hell yeah. So Cal Daniels, son of a bitch, appreciate you being here. He says he's not dead. dead. Appreciate you, man. And then Robbie, you can take a screenshot, read all this.
Yeah, heard about this. Yeah, it's funny.
Appreciate you, Six Dudes. Appreciate you, man. What do I want to get into? Oh, the cast, man, which is somewhere hell we could have started because, like I said, it's the other highlight outside of just well, I guess there's a lot of fucking highlights because I love the story and I love the mystery too. But the cast, man, Donald Sutherland, Julie Christie, and then the sisters played by Hillary Mason, and I believe Anne Rye would be who that is. Pretty small cast. Then we've got the cop, we've got the priest. But start with you this time, Robbie. What do you think of the cast in general, my brother?
I think the cast does a great job. Donald Sutherland was making me laugh a couple times though with some of his reactions to things. They're very, very melodramatic at times, especially when I love the scene where he like, I guess he's like putting the mosaic back together or whatever, and that thing comes through and smashes his platform and he's like hanging there. Yeah. And his just reaction just seems so fucking dorky. I don't know. There's like, he feels very dorky to me in this film.
He is very dorky, man. Yeah. That's who he is. He's
there's a lot of his ass in this movie too. He's like, man, I got a nice slim ass. I want to show it off, right?
How about how this is another thing you see in 70s and 80s movies, like what was considered getting fat back then makes me feel like the fattest piece of shit I've ever met. They're like, you're getting a little big, and I'm like, I've never been that slim in my entire life.
He has like a little tiny bit he can pinch.
Yeah.
What up, Blake? What up, my brother?
He's great. Julie Christie's great. I love the two elderly women. One of them, isn't that the lady from fucking Dolls? It's the old woman from Dolls, the blind woman, right?
Really?
That's the old woman from Dolls, I think.
That would be Hillary Mason. Let me check on that right now. Dolls, you spot on, my brother.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
She's the nice witchy woman in Dolls, So I thought the cast did a fantastic job, even though I was very confused by some of the characters and what their motivations and meanings were. And once again, that cop dude, he's the random guy from fucking Suspiria. And like anytime anybody from Suspiria, even voices, I'll recognize voices from Suspiria, So I've just seen it so many times. So it's always cool to see somebody, a Suspiria alumni. I guess he hadn't made that movie yet. So
True.
Yeah.
but it makes sense, right? Because they're filming in Italy, right? So it makes sense.
Exactly. Wes, my brother, what about you? Any thoughts on the cast?
I mean, I've always loved Donald Sutherland, but I can agree that he's kind of a dorky guy.
Even when he's just hanging on that rope, it's
yeah.
just such a dorky way to do it. Like
It's hard to look.
Kind of funny because they were all like, he was like, well, I don't even know what he was doing. He was like trying to grab the rope, but also the pole at the same time. I'm like, what are you doing?
shit lasted
like, they really had
too.
no OSHA there.
It felt like that was a 20-minute scene of him just fucking hanging.
Yeah,
there.
hanging there. They took so long getting him.
That dude's trying to help him. He's just like,
Right.
fuck it, I can't help you, brother. I don't know what
Nobody's reacting urgently. Speaking of which, I also thought that Bishop was in on it too for the longest time. I was like, this Bishop's been on the witchy shit too, because he was dressed like a pimp, and the wife kissed his ring, and like, and the other people kissed his ring, and I was like, oh, the wife kissed his ring because she's in on it, and she like, you know, that was like a little muscle memory habitual thing she just did, and she's like, oh shit, I just gave something away. But like that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, the wife, the priest, the two blind women, and the cop, they're all in on it.
That's where I think I'm most like confused by, or where I don't really understand is, like, the religious aspect of it. There's a lot of that, like in the era, satanic panic era, you can see what was in the atmosphere at the time. Like why The Exorcist was made, and just what's the other one? Wicker Man. Both came out. This is like in the middle of that. Exorcist and the Wicker Man, similar elements.
Yeah. I love the Wicker Man.
Julie Christie, who we haven't mentioned, who plays the wife. I just thought she was great too. Worth pointing her out. Both the sisters are good. I like everybody. I like the priest. I like the cop. Other than that, you don't really get a whole hell of a lot. I like the hotel owner. No, we're closed. We're closed. I'm trying to do something upstairs with this young woman. I don't know what the fuck he was doing with that lady. But that was a cool scene too. And just like, I like the direction of that, where he went upstairs and he had the hotel. No, go away. And he's got a comb in his hand. And it was almost shot in a way like he was like gonna stab him, like he was a slasher or something. And Donald Sutherland is backing away. It was like almost like a phallic representation.
Yeah, I saw something too where they were mentioning, because like the hotel's about to close for the season or whatever, and you slowly see them preparing for this closure throughout the film. They're like putting things over the furniture and just kind of winding everything down, and they're saying that's like a premonition, allegedly, to Donald Sutherland's character, that his life is wrapping up and he's heading down towards the end of his life or something like that.
That's cool. That's cool. I just wanted to shout out before I do want to rate this thing, Wes. I don't know if you've prepared a rating, but out of 5, baby. But I just wanted to point out just a couple, back to the cinematography, just some scenes I loved that were so fucking cool. Just we could have spent like 20 minutes talking about the opening scene when he's in slow motion coming out of the water with his daughter. We've seen a lot of people grieving in agony over loss in a film, and this is one of the most potent ones, where it's like, it seems so fucking real. So just the performance and the editing and all that in the opening scene, amazing. But maybe my favorite moment in the movie is when Julie, the wife, she passes out of the restaurant, and it's just like lettuce flying everywhere in slow motion, and the way these oils that were on the table are pouring and spilling onto the marble floor. It's just something so fucking cool about that, and just beautiful. There's another moment right after that. We're in the bathroom where Julie's kind of finding out that these women are seeing her daughter, and just all the mirrors that they're using. There's so many shots like that throughout the entire, pretty much every scene in the movie. Like we say a lot, like could be taking a screenshot, put it up on your wall. It's that beautiful of a film. I guess before we wrap this bitch up, Robbie, you got anything theme wise that you haven't touched on? Or I know the music is pretty prominent in the film. If you would like to,
but
just
the
think of all the
music,
things that you make sure you never miss.
I really like the music in the film. It's got this eerie quality. It makes it feel like a ghost story, especially at the very, very beginning, right?
Right.
And it's a movie that feels, I don't know, it kind of feels cold in a way, but not like cold like it's filmed in the Arctic or anything like that. Like not like freezing cold, but it just kind of feels cold and folly, overcast day. It's a cool, like I like this. It's a horror film set in the day mostly. Those are rarities, and when they work, it works exceptionally well, because the daytime can be pretty freaking scary too. But the music was great. I do think the theme is more about is to me, it seems like it's about like the balance between like how do we, it's obviously an exploration on dealing with grief, right? And like you can deal with it by diving into a supernatural, religious kind of paranormal kind of way, or a very rational, like I said, where you just throw yourself into work and alcohol, right? And I don't know if anybody in the movie has a balance, you know, but definitely it's showing more, I guess, how we need to embrace more of that spiritual, magical side of our lives when we're dealing with things. We can't just be like, well, that is the way it is, and I'll just deal with it however I can. And he's basically ignoring everything that side of his world is trying to tell him, that it could be easily avoided, right? If he would just have been paying more attention to the nuance and the wonder of life, and not necessarily just the more practical and reality side of life. Does that make sense?
Hell yeah. Did you guys kind of think, because the way it cuts, we get the opening scene, total grief. It's like this. It's like the part, I won't spoil Hereditary, but the sad part in Hereditary, and then just juxtapose that with Hereditary, how that family feels, like you could see it on their face and in their actions, like the grief. This just jumps forward. We don't know how long, 6 months, whatever, long enough for them to feel like they've pretty much dealt with it on the surface. Like their grief, like especially Donald Sutherland's, is under the surface. They seem pretty happy for a family that we just saw lose their child. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree.
I think that's part of like the denial and like the burying and all, but that only really works for Donald Sutherland. I feel like the movie would almost work a little bit better if the mom seemed like she was dealing with it worse. Like we saw some sign of her struggling with it before she learns about the witches or whatever, which is kind of what brings her, like, helps her process the grief and all that.
You know, I just recently watched a movie from the late 80s called Dead Calm, because it was one of Billy Zane's first breakout performances, and I wanted to have that, you know, like knowledge of that movie before I did my panel with him. And that movie is very similar in the way it starts, right? It starts with Sam Neill and Nicole Kidman. Their kid is killed in a tragic car accident. And in that movie, so then they go off to just be on, he's like a ship captain. So they go off on his yacht to just kind of get away from everything. Then Billy Zane's like a stranded passenger on another boat. And he's fucking crazy. So then the rest of the movie, you know, continues on from that. But they do a really great job in that movie at the beginning where you realize that Nicole Kidman is not over this yet. And the husband is like very much trying to get her over it, mostly probably just so that he can bury it, right? And it seems like in these movies, especially in this one, I felt a little bit of that, especially throughout the movie. But it wasn't as obvious at first because it does skip some time, right? But it's almost as if the perspective is that women, representing maybe the feminine side of someone's self, which is more of a receptive nature, right, is more understanding of the nuance of grief and how to deal with it and things like that. Meanwhile, the more directed side of the mind, the more masculine side, the men in these movies are very like, no, you know, what's done is done. We got to move on, blah, blah, blah. So I think it just, I don't know. Yeah, Dead Calm is great. 62 Lefty Blues. Y'all should check it out if y'all have never seen Dead Calm. It's really good. Really good. Anyway, just leads into that idea, though. I think that's really interesting. I think this movie has way more to it than I initially picked up after my first view.
Hell yeah.
When I was like, who the fuck is this at the end of the movie killing this guy? Also, he died in a dorky way. He started like shaking and everything.
I think if you looked through Donald Sutherland's career, I bet he did most things in kind of a dorky way. He's got dork face. He's a
dorky guy, right?
Help it. Six Deuce says his grief controlled his mind enough to where it was all he could see or wanted to see was his daughter. Exactly. Yeah. Chasing around. I loved also just the red ball, the red and white ball, especially in that opening scene where it's on top of the surface and you see that. And it's like the representation that the daughter is below the water. Like it's what we see. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
But Wes, I'll throw it to you. So if you have anything to add to anything that we've talked about, the themes, any theories, cinematography, fucking anything, throw that in there with your final thoughts and your rating out of 5. You guys down in the chat, same as well. Brother Joe, what up? I don't know why. Sometimes I instinctively do this. You're not Kenneth Bird. I don't know why. You're not Kenneth Bird, but caca, Brother Joe. Wes, what's your rating? And again, anything else you would like to add to the combo?
Yeah, I give this was a 5 out of 5 for me. I was like, wow, I was really blown away. Next Criterion sale, I'm definitely buying the 4K. I thought it was just really brilliantly done. The visual layering and the editing was just like so satisfying. Yeah, I think it might be my favorite Donald Sutherland film. from this era. I think it was just really great. I'm interested to check out other Nicolas Roeg films now, because I think I've only seen Witches other than this.
Yeah, same.
And yeah, I just, it was really, really well done. I really liked it.
Hell yeah, dude. I love to hear it, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it so much. Where you at on it, Robbie?
Well, I'm very much looking forward to watching it again, right? And basically have a recontextualized viewing experience based on what I've learned in this discussion here. My initial experience watching it, I probably would have given it like a 3, you know, because I did think it was beautifully shot, but I was very confused and I was like, what the fuck with that ending? But upon reflection, listening to some stuff and this conversation, I think I can safely say that I would give this movie a 4 out of 5 with a lot of room to grow, especially after the next time I watch it, because I think it's better than my initial viewing led me to experience.
I feel that, man. My brother Link says, I'll give it whatever you guys give it. I appreciate that.
Valid.
This is one thing I kind of meant to say this at the beginning, but it's a highly praised movie in a lot of ways. The British Film Institute, on their top 100 British films of all time, had this at number 8 as the number 8 greatest film ever made in the UK, which is pretty impressive.
And surely number 1 was Life of Brian, right?
never actually seen that. I'm gonna give it a 4.5. And my only negative will be kind of what I pointed out earlier. There's a chunk towards the end of the movie where I get it. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to string us along. I just feel like it loses steam at one point to a certain degree. But I don't know. It's hard to kind of beat the movie as for atmosphere, look wise, and acting wise for something that you can call a horror movie. And I just love the vibe of it. It's a movie that like is kind of slow as it is. Like I could watch it over and over. I think like I've seen it a few times now, and yeah, it's just a brilliant fucking movie. 6 Deuce gives it a 4.5 as well. Says still holds up for the age. And again, 6 Deuce, really appreciate you sending me the copy, which Robbie now has. Or this is it. I don't know. This could be it. One of them. One of them you said. So hell yeah, man. I appreciate
it is on Criterion, I believe. Yeah, as Wes said. So yeah, I bet there's got a lot of cool stuff on it.
I want to bring up, bam, there it is. This is one of my favorite things. The things that I kind of am most proud of about this channel, that will go from a movie like this to a movie like this right here. That's kind of what I'm going for. Your highbrow shit mixed in with one of the sleazier films ever fucking made about a nasty little serial killer. Maniac is what we're talking about. What we will be talking about here on Wednesday. Again, new day, new time, Wednesday, 12:30 Central Time. Be here with Stu and my brother, who's right there, the missing link, to talk about Maniac.
What a great movie to discuss at 12:30 in the afternoon.
After we made that move, I did kind of think like, is it weird to be talking about horror in the afternoon? But whatever. It is what it is. It's what's working right now for all of our schedules. But hell yeah, man, Maniac on Wednesday. What do you got going on this week, Robbie?
Rockin' Robbie live tonight. We haven't done one in a few weeks, so we got a lot to catch up on, and the return to some old favorite bits. So that's going to be super fun. That is at 7 p.m. Central Time tonight. Tomorrow night, we kick off anime over at PCP Movie Night. We're kicking it off with my pick because it's Robbie week. It's the week of my birthday, so I get the first pick, and we're going to be talking about Akira tomorrow night, and I cannot wait. I think that's one of the greatest animated films of all time, and cannot wait to unpack it with the PCP crew. Excited what we are. Near Dark, I love that movie.
Just watched Near Dark for the first time. They need to release this movie. The Near Dark was going to be part of Fang Fest, but you couldn't buy it digitally anywhere, and you can't buy it even physically.
I know.
Cannot fucking watch the movie unless you already own it.
I got a Blu-ray that can be worth some money sometimes, you know, and I was like, I'm not giving it up at all. I love that movie, but it's so hard to find. It's the best movie with the worst ending.
I could agree with that too. Love the new name. You've had it for a little while now, at Screen Brulee on Instagram and TikTok, I'm gonna assume. Where else can people find you online, and what do you got going on?
I'm doing stuff on YouTube now. I haven't made a new video in a really long time. I was hoping to do it more regularly, but I'm still in school, so things are slow in YouTube and content creation. But I'm working on a short film. We film at the end of this month, so that's really exciting.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, but you can find me at Screen Brulee just about anywhere now: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I will definitely be making more content creation once school and this film is complete. And yeah, I'm really excited about everything that's going on. And I'm so happy that you brought me to talk about this.
Hell yeah, man.
I love coming back.
I'm very happy that you were able to make it, and I'm happy that as I figured you would, I figured that you would enjoy this one. So I appreciate it. Link saying came out in '88. One of the best. I'm Near Dark. He's talking about. Hell yeah. Yeah, we need to get to that one. You know what? Since you're doing anime, I should do Perfect Blue this month.
Hell yeah.
That was my plan, Robbie, is that I was going to do an anime one with you and do Perfect Blue.
Oh, wow.
Then I made the list for the month and I didn't put it in there, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll switch some things around. But regardless, Maniac this Wednesday. Be there, be square. And I appreciate you guys in the chat. Appreciate you guys on the panel. And we'll see you on Wednesday.